Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics and Right. I'm Egberto, Willies, your host. Thank you so kind of for being a part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today, as usual. Where are my people? I don't see that many yet registering in the chat, but likewise, I don't see a lot on Facebook or YouTube. Are we being throttled again where our signals are not going out? Hey, Twitter is controlled by one billionaire. Facebook is controlled by another billionaire. And likewise, YouTube, which is also, YouTube, WhatsApp, by another billionaire. And, some of the things that we talk about are not billionaire friendly. So where are my people? Billionaires, are you starting to throttle us even further? We don't want to be throttled. Maybe this is where we start talking about the nationalization of the internet. As soon as the private sector starts throttling, we had a thing. I wrote a piece at Common Dreams. Let me see if I can find that piece as we hope for more people to show up. But I wrote a piece at Common Dreams a few years ago under the auspices of Move to Amend, right? Where we discussed net neutrality, right? One of the things that we spoke about was pretty much to control or prevent what a lot of these people are doing. If you notice the title of this article that I had was, let's see if I can put that up on the screen. But there it goes. It was, is net neutrality really necessary? You're damn right. If the internet becomes shackled by corporate interests and corporate profits as traditional media has, democracy is not only in peril, it is unattainable. I wrote that 10 years ago, March 1st, 2014. Me and another guy named Kian Bliss from Move to Amend. I'm going to read the first part because when I see us being throttled, when I see that certain channels are not getting somehow the notifications are going out. So people have to remember that at 3:00 every day we come on here or whatever, no longer the cell phones where you normally get your throttle or where you get, throttle down. You don't get the information, So I said 3 weeks after Christmas, the American judiciary gave telecommunications a huge present. On January 14, this is 2014, a federal court decided to weaken the Federal Commission's internet neutrality policy by striking down rules it adopted in 2010 to regulate internet service providers. Without these guidelines, corporations like Verizon, Comcast, and AT&T are able to obstruct internet traffic. Additionally, they can make preferential deals with content providers willing to pay a higher price for access and speed. They may also manipulate internet content that people can access. That is what we were fighting about. And here's the article. I'm going to put that article that I wrote. It's an old article 10 years ago. And my gosh, many times I'm pretty sure we are, in fact, being throttled. That's why we have got to take our country back. We have got to take our country back. I wrote this article 10 years ago. Anyway, welcome aboard. Bridge MCP from Binghamton, New York. Lee Grant from Montgomery County. Eric Hayes from Kingwood, Atascocita. We also have in the house Carl Cox. Let's see who's on the line right now. Welcome to Politics Done Right. May I be of assistance to you? You're live on radio right now. Okay. I gather you don't want to speak. Okay. Let's go ahead and close this down. All right, folks. So anyhow. Para ver. Let me continue with my salute. AVQ is in the house from Brooklyn, New York. Welcome, AVQ. And of course, our beautiful Yvette Avery Herod is likewise in the house. What can I say? All right, let's go ahead and continue. Eric, why are you putting all of that stuff, that much stuff, as one thing in this guy? Come on, put a synopsis and the link. A synopsis a synopsis and a link, please. That it makes it hard to read when you do that. Okay, my dear brother. All right. Let's see what else we got here before I continue. Let's see what we got here. Carl Cox says, yes to progressives, no to MAGA. And I guarantee you, MAGA is not going to win, my brother. MAGA is not going to win. But before I go any further, we are going to start with a story that I did. There are 2 interviews that I did at Netroots that I want to make sure and get in there that I'm going to go ahead and start shortly. Bear with me as I close down a particular link. All right. I want you guys to listen to this story. I want you to listen to this story. It should be fun. Oh, I'm sorry, not fun at all. This is this woman's story who had stage 4 cancer. She's doing fine. I've met her over several Netroots, but her story is inspirational. And I wanted to talk to her. I wanted you guys to hear what she had to say. I want you guys to see why it is important that we have Medicare for all or Health Care for all, whichever one you want to call it. Here it is. Welcome to another edition of Politics Done Right. Today I am with Laura Packard. This is our second interview because we want to talk on a different subject, and this is a subject of healthcare. Laura, I was listening into one of your previous interviews, and I heard a personal story about your healthcare situation that I wanted to go through, because I believe that the more people learn about what can happen to us in our healthcare, the more they'll be more empathetic and the more they'll demand more from their politicians. Tell me your story.
Sure. Well, in 2017, I was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, and this was the spring of 2017. So this was while Republicans in Congress under President Trump were trying to repeal the Affordable Care Act, which was keeping me alive. So I was very invested in that fight. I would go get chemotherapy in the morning and then go protest in the afternoon because my life was on the line. So thankfully, they did not succeed in dismantling the Affordable Care Act.
And the fingers down, yeah.
But it was that close. I mean, It came down to one vote in the Senate. And I'm lucky to be in remission today, but I'm going to be a cancer survivor for the rest of my life. And if insurance companies have the opportunity, they would rather not give me health insurance. So if they ever have the choice again to pick and choose who they cover, they would not cover me. And I can't go without health insurance because I don't know what happens next.
You know, this is important because I think a lot of people don't understand it, because you just said it. There's this thing called pre-existing condition. You now officially have a serious pre-existing condition. And under a Trump presidency, who wants to give control back to insurance companies, what would happen? What does that actually mean?
Well, they make more money if they only cover healthy people who have never had anything bad ever happen to them. So that means no car accidents, no strokes, no cancer, no heart disease, no lung disease. So if they have the choice, they will cancel your insurance if anything bad ever happens to you, and they'll never cover you again.
Right.
So we can't go back to that. I mean, I'm self-employed, and I used to have a junk insurance policy. If I had gotten sick while I had that policy, they would not have covered the care that I needed, and today I would be bankrupt or dead.
Actually, I think you would have been bankrupt and dead. You know, I mean, it's sad that the rich country that we live in, we still to date don't have universal health care. What are you trying to do in that regards? Are you working towards working with other organizations to finally get us to, whether you want to call it Medicare for all, healthcare for all, or whatever?
Well, I serve as executive director of Health Care Voter, and so we're informing voters about what's at stake and letting people know how your elected officials have voted on your health care. Unfortunately, as you know, we don't have the votes today to expand healthcare. I mean, we don't have the votes today to preserve the healthcare we have the Right to Contraception Act lost in the Senate last month. So right now, there just aren't the votes to get to health care for everybody. But that's why it's so important to pay attention to how your elected officials are voting. And if they don't support your health care, you have the chance to do something about it.
Absolutely. Most of the people supporting health care for all, to put it bluntly, and I don't want to be partisan, but they are Democratic. Most of not all Democrats support health care for all, but we know that the progressive Democrats support health care for all. It's almost, that is the nature of it. Don't you think that because of the pathway Republicans have laid with the type of regressive policies they support, don't you really think that November should really be a landslide for those who support policies for people?
I would hope so, but I think a lot of people don't. It's hard to get good news these days. Newspapers have folded, have reduced reporters, reduced quality reporting. TV is kind of a mess. Social media isn't any better necessarily. So, there are news deserts in this country, just like there's grocery deserts, a place where there is no good local grocery store. So I think that if everybody voted and everybody was an informed voter, then yes, Americans by and large think that everybody should have health care.
Right.
But there's a disconnect in the information people are receiving. And I think also, if you don't have good sources of news, you don't necessarily know how your elected officials are voting. And then you may feel like you can't make an informed vote, and maybe you don't vote at all, or you vote how you've done in the past, or what friends and neighbors suggest. So it's important to actually hold people accountable for the votes they make, not just the words that they say. And it's important to get out there and vote. But I wish we lived in a country where everybody voted.
You know what is interesting? It always behooved me, but I hear people say all the times when we talk about healthcare for all or universal healthcare, we can't afford it. And then my answer to them is, are you telling me that if we can't afford it, are you saying those people who can afford healthcare get to live and those who can't get to die? Is that what we're saying? And the reality is we definitely can afford it. We just don't, we just allow ourselves to be hoodwinked by those who don't want to pay for it. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, it's all about choices. We choose who to tax and how much we tax them. And there are billionaires that are paying lower rates than their secretaries. And that's a choice. That's a policy choice. And if we made different choices, if we had a fairer tax system and people who are doing well paid more of their fair share, we would have the resources we need to make sure that everybody in this country has the health care they need. I don't believe that all the other first world countries have somehow figured out some magic solution that we haven't. Everybody's healthcare system looks a little different, but they've all gotten to the place where almost everybody gets affordable healthcare. And we haven't done that. And I think that is a lack of will.
We've done that by choice. And it's time. But you know what, Laura, with the work that you're doing and the work that we are doing here, trying to make sure that your message gets out, I think the idea is to solve that information desert problem by going directly to the people where we can reach them. I just hope that you continue doing what you do and these organizations continue doing what they're doing so that we can finally get to the right place. And I think we will. And with your work, Laura Packard, thank you so kindly for speaking to me on this issue.
Thanks.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number 1, subscribe to our channel. And number 2, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.
Absolutely join us, folks. Absolutely join us. Anyway, that was Laura Packard. I was very impressed with her. She's a real activist, even when she was real ill with stage 4 cancer, and she was out. She would go to her chemotherapy, and she was back out there fighting for Medicare for all. She was out there fighting to make sure that Obamacare. Actually, she was fighting for Obamacare to make sure that they didn't in their evil ways get rid of Obamacare. And only a Senator McCain, if only Senator McCain had not done that, where he killed that evil vote, we would be in trouble. Welcome aboard, Stygen Burger Greek. Great to see you here. Lee Grant, I think I saluted both you and Carl Cox. Carl Cox, who's in Riverdale, Georgia. Did I get that right again? I am starting to remember. Like I said, it just takes a little bit of muscle memory for me to get my act together. Anyhow, folks, so yes, healthcare is a part of this election as well. If we want to get on the pathway to healthcare for all, we have to keep it in the faces of people. We have to let people see what the vulnerability of our healthcare system looks like. And Laura Packard is a perfect example. She looks great now. You should have seen her when she was under chemo, stage 4 cancer. Obamacare saved her. Yvette Avery-Herod says, great interview. We definitely have to keep the fight going. We have to, Yvette. We have to both. And the unions are going to play an essential part in this fight against the plutocracy. There are some people who are still blind to the need for unions. I have people on my live show sometimes like, I don't like unions, and the unions don't. And then I ask them, they're defending the corporations. And I say, so why do corporations have unions? The last person I told that, he said, I guess I got to rethink this, because they don't realize that the Chamber of Commerce is nothing but a union. They don't realize that the Metallurgical Association is nothing but a union. The Coal Manufacturers Association is nothing more than a union. They get together so that their strength together can overpower those of your politicians. And you're going to sit back and say you don't need a union? That is what we call an enslaved mindset. And that is what we have to fight against, an enslaved mindset. And as soon as we liberate our minds, as soon as we start saying to ourselves, we will no longer be enslaved by the Heritage Foundation, we'll no longer be enslaved by the Powell Memo, we'll no longer be enslaved by all these other features, and what can I say? But we have to get there. We have to get there. And when we have powerhouses like Laura Packard, I mean, you should see, she came on with 2 hats at Netroots. One with the big uterus blow up that she had to tell these politicians to get out of women's uteruses. And the other one she had was for Obamacare and healthcare for all, as she has suffered this herself. So folks, we have got to do better. We have got to keep the pressure on, as Yvette Avery-Herod is talking about. We have got to strengthen the union, as Yvette is doing with what she does with her union. But we have got to come together and get all this stuff done. Anyway, folks, we've got another important video. This one is about, I did at Netroots again. This one is also from another journalist. His name is Boenig. I want you to listen to this, and then we'll take it on the other side.
Today we are honored to have the one and only Fred Boenig from the Daily Ripple. Anyway, we're here at Netroots Nation, and we're here to have some good fun, as well as learn, educate, entertain, make sure that people know all that's going on in our body politic, and to make sure that we make a difference. But anyway, Fred, how are you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing wonderful. It's a great time here.
Tell me a little bit about what you do.
Well, we have the Daily Ripple. It's a news aggregator called thedailyripple.org. And, we do a lot of work with center-left news sources and things like that. So we don't have any advertising, we don't have any pop-ups, and we don't ask for emails. It's just a news aggregator that you can see news all day long.
Oh, well, that's great. Let me see. Are you guys having some audio problems with us? Did I hear low audio? Okay, the audio is low. Maybe I can try to do something about that. Tell me if that makes a difference. Let's go ahead. Is that any better? Audio's still low. Well, I'm trying. I think I turned her all the way up to see if we can get some better audio for you. Okay, it's good now. All right, I guess our audio is good now.
Well, they're a moment behind.
They're a moment behind. Anyway, folks, we're going to have a great program for you. So tell me a little bit about what you think of our current body politic.
Well, I think that we have a president that is doing an amazing job.
Right.
That we have a lot of people who are wringing their hands, worrying about him. And I'm figuring that every day he goes to work. He goes to work and he does it every day, and he's been bringing it along. So because you have a bad night at a thing, I don't think debating is important.
I think people are more concerned about that, but the truth of the matter is we are in such a stage right now that my opinion is I really don't care who the hell is on top of the Democratic ticket.
It could be a D with a goat. I get it.
I want to make sure that people go out there they go out there and vote, because what we're looking at right now are existential problems to the democracy in the United States of America. And that is something that you don't play with at all.
Well, we people look at our democracy and they say, well, there's problems. But wait till we don't have one, and boy, they'll really see the problem.
Then they'll really see what the problem looks like.
Right.
Because again, it is true that there is that it is necessary. Oh wait, I'm in Kingwood, Texas, and they're telling me that it's raining. But anyhow,
in Texas?
Well, the funny thing about it is, I do know the hurricane just came through Texas.
All through Houston.
And it knocked out Houston. I don't have any power. We're on generator power right now in Houston. But anyway, so as we progress and talk about what we expect out of the 2024, what do you expect our path from now to November to ensure that we don't have
I think the same path that we took in 2022 is get out the voters, get people interested, get them excited. Also, to remind them how dangerous what could happen and will happen if they don't. To be really sure that if Donald Trump, who I've met 3 times, if he gets in power and they pull in this Project 2025, which I've taken the course, I went through their whole learning thing,
right?
And it's a scary bunch. And they're not. If people are just learning about it, we've been working on it for over a year. That they will lose everything they know and love about this country, because the people that are involved truly are Christian white nationalists.
Right.
I mean, you're talking about Tony Perkins, you're talking about Dobson, you're talking about Kirk, you're talking about all these guys. These are Christian fundamentalists. And back in 2012 or 2015, Donald Trump stood in front of the Value Voters Summit, held up his pristine Bible.
Right.
I have a picture of it because I was standing in front of him, and that his mom gave him when he was 9 years old. And it was, and the people were laughing at him because they were like, he never opened it.
Exactly.
But the next year, they all switched over. Well, part of that is because of Michael Cohen and Packard having the pictures of the pool boy and the stuff for Jerry Falwell. And when they convinced him that they were going to let it out, he then became a supporter of Donald Trump all of a sudden. The guy who's not a Christian.
It is amazing. It is amazing.
2 Corinthians,
It is amazing that they are the ones that the good guy in Biden, or the good people that profess the values that they stand for, that those are the ones that don't get the support.
But they've also been brainwashed, or whatever you want to call it, by 30 years of Fox News talking anti-government stuff.
Right.
And of course we understand how that happened, because we had rural people watching the Weather Channel for many years.
Exactly.
And then all of a sudden they switched over to Fox News and they took away the desk.
Exactly.
And they put hot-looking women on couches and they lowered the camera. And the next thing you know, you have rural white guys watching TV all day.
You know what is interesting? We're looking at the chat right now, and the chat says, Lee Grant, I have a lot of people from many different persuasions organizations, ideologies, and I love them all. They are all a part of what we call the PDR posse. Now, my brother, in the chat that you're looking at, Brother Lee Grant and Brother Eric Hayes, they are both very conservative. And Lee Grant thinks that Project 2025 sounds like a boogeyman. What would you tell him about?
Has he read the 900 pages?
And that's the thing. That is the thing, Lee Grant. You really need to read it to see it. Hey, you really need to read it to actually go further in there. But I want to say one thing. If folks, this is live. Anoa. I just want to let you know that I'm live and I have a segment. No. You're not doing anything wrong. I'm saying I'm live and in about 20. I have after him another person. If you have the wherewithal to do so. In 20 minutes. Okay, excellent. Great. Anyhow, coming back to you, Fred. Tell him about Project 2025.
All right. Well, the thing about Project 2025, this is a large bunch of organizations that have been working together for a very long time.
Right.
The Heritage Foundation has been working for a very long time, trying to make anti-intellectual,
right?
Demonizing schools, saying all the colleges are a bunch of liberals or a bunch of socialists and all these things. They've also talked about changing the work, getting rid of overtime. There's all these things are in there. If they download it from their site, they can use a word search.
Well, I have the entire 900 pages on my website.
Right.
But here's what Lee is saying as well. Lee is saying the problem leftists have with Project 2025 is that they don't tolerate opinions that are different from theirs. But what he doesn't understand is within Project 2025 are policies that will hurt him.
Right.
It's not just the policies that will hurt lefties. It's policies that would hurt you as well.
And as he might not understand about me, what I do, but I've probably been to more right-wing events than he has.
Right.
I know more right-wing pundits than him. I mean, I've met Mark Levin. I've met, Sean Hannity. I've been on those shows. I've been with all these guys. I know them all. I've met Biden.
You've been on Sean Hannity's show.
Yeah, and I've been, I've met Glenn Beck. I know all these guys. My Christmas card was from the Heritage.
Right.
I mean, I got, I'm sitting there in their thing.
Right.
The point is, what they want to do is if you look at, there's a program called Ordinary Men.
Right.
Ordinary Men. And it's about how they got ordinary people in Germany.
Right.
To become the police who killed all the people. And they were ordinary men because they kept telling them all these lies that they believe. And they programmed to believe that some people aren't as human as others. They dehumanize people. Right. When you have people saying the words invasion, there's an invasion of foreigners. Well, in New York City in 1900, between 1900 and 1910, millions of people came from Europe. Millions. They went through Ellis Island with an average of 2 hours in Ellis Island, and they were allowed to work. They were allowed to go right to work. And so this country has had millions of people coming here from the time of Reagan. In 1986, 1.6 million people were apprehended at the border.
Right.
1.6 million. In 2000, 1.65 million. This is not new. Donald Trump came in with, there was less than 500,000 people coming at the border. And by 2019, it had gone up to 1 million.
He really doesn't have anything to stand on. But look, Fred, I just wanted you to be on the show.
Tell him to go through it. And then look at where it makes sense.
Well, I don't have to tell him. You just told him.
Please do that.
Look, I got to go to Mark now and talk to Mark about his book. I just wanted to give you a chance to come on and say hi. After all, you also got my book. It's worth it. How to talk to your right-wing relative friends. Yes, I will. When you write your book, what do you write? Where is it?
It's called Keeping Time by the River.
I said you got my email. Did you get my card?
Yeah.
Send me the card so that I can actually add it to my Kindle.
Okay.
Thanks,
boss.
My pleasure, man. Take care.
All right, folks. I have several more interviews. I'm not doing any more of those today. I have something more that we got to cover. Now, here's the deal. Breed, you answered it correctly, and you only need to say that twice, or we only need to say that one time here every time we have the show, because again, it's a blog post, or rather, it's a podcast, and we do want people to get some intelligent information from this. And so I wish you will remind me to make this statement every time. I probably should just write it down, tape it, and play it here. Any person who chooses to vote for Donald Trump has completely given up on their dignity. Any person who votes for Donald Trump is either, and I'm saying this with a lot of respect. I love you guys all. I love all of you, but I say this with respect. It's a psychological problem, because to vote for Donald Trump, if you have children, if you have a daughter, you are telling your daughter there are no consequences for a man pulling on her private parts, on her crutches. There is no, that man can still rise up to be president of the United States, and with that, leader of the world. You, whoever is voting for Donald Trump, is telling their daughter, men have a right to your privates. They have a right to abuse you. They have a right to do these things. If you have a son, you are saying it is okay for that son to be a rapist, a sexual abuser. That is what you're saying with your vote, because you're saying it is okay to have those issues and be elevated to the presidency of the United States. You have to live with that. You have to live with the disrespect your kids, who may not show it to you initially, but later, when they are of thinking mind, said, how could a parent of mine either vote for a person like this, or give me some sort of a reason that it's okay to vote for a person like that? Anybody who votes for this person immediately realizes that they should realize that he is doing nothing but, or they're doing nothing but voting against their own interests. I think I played that before, but I gave you the ethical reason why a vote for Trump makes you unethical and immoral. I think before I played a piece that gave you the economic realities of voting for Donald Trump. And I had a piece called Fact: Trump's policies are shafting his MAGA base. And maybe this time is apropos, because again, if you have a child, and you're voting for Trump, you're telling your child it is okay to vote for a rapist. Let's go ahead and play this piece now on the economical side. Last night, Joyanne Reid did a great job in breaking down the two policy differences between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. And she made it clear that how can you have somebody who has never run a company successfully? Remember, 6 bankruptcies, as well as Truth Social is nearing to the point, given that it makes no money, to go into bankruptcy as well. It's inevitable, because it's not a viable organization. So therefore, it's just banking on the name Trump while he still has some political viability. Now, this morning, Morning Joe and Steve Radner did a great thing in the way they pointed out 3 specific things. One, that blue states are very, very dependent on, or rather, red states are very, very dependent on blue states. I mean, if you take a look at the charts that they show, the red states just simply need that cash from the blue states. The second thing is that where it comes to education, again, the blue states are funded education in the rural areas of all these red states, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then again, the IRA, the Inflation Reduction Act that was passed by Democrats. Most of the monies and the investments are going to red states, not blue states. So again, in all these different aspects, red states are takers. Yet with Project 2025, Donald Trump is doing something interesting. He's taking away all the resources that blue states are providing for the red states, or a lot of those resources. But not only that, in his tax policy, he's increasing tariffs, which would be paid by all working class people, all poor people, in order to collect some cash, because again, tariffs are nothing more than a tax on everyone. He collects that tax, and guess where that tax goes? Into a tax cut, a huge tax cut for the wealthy. And again, it is important that people understand this. You're not hearing this on Fox News. You're not hearing this on OIN. You're not hearing this on Newsmax, but you're hearing it where news counts. And it's important that we start doing this more now than ever, that in effect, what Donald Trump is doing, yes, he's going to screw all the people in the red states, but in the process of doing that, he will screw all Americans in the lower strata. Listen to this, and then we'll take it on the other side.
The record's pretty clear, and history's pretty clear here, which is job growth. As Bill Clinton noted in his convention speech, job growth has happened under Democratic administrations. Deficit reduction is more common under Democratic administrations. These business policies, as Goldman Sachs forecasts, they're better business policies outlined by Harris than it is for Trump. And I will just say this, we've gone through 2.5, 3 years of people, especially on the Republican side, warning about inflation. The most inflationary policies being proposed in the current campaign are enhanced tariffs and immigration restriction, because that would affect the amount of supplies of goods coming into our country and severely hamper the number of employees that we have in our country. So if your primary concern is inflation, it's pretty clear, too, that you should vote for Harris.
Steve, you're looking at how Donald Trump's policies would do more harm to the states that support him the most. And let's be very clear here. Donald Trump and Kamala Harris both want to raise taxes. Kamala Harris is talking about actually raising taxes on corporations and the wealthiest of Americans. She's talking about, though, giving a big tax cut, big tax credit to small business owners that will benefit entrepreneurs. Donald Trump, as the Wall Street Journal editorial page said months ago, Donald Trump has proposed the biggest tax increases in this election through the form of tariffs. And who do tariffs hurt? They don't hurt the rich. They hurt consumers. They hurt middle-class Americans who can't afford the Trump tariff tax that they're going to get hit with.
Yeah, the Trump tariffs are, as you say, are actually a huge tax increase. It would cost the average American family something like $1,600 a year. And even worse than that, it would affect the people at the bottom in terms of the percentage income that they would lose more than the people at the top. So it's what we call regressive, favoring the rich over the poor, as well as raising inflation and really having a negative impact on the economy. But I think there were two things about Harris's announcement yesterday that are worth pointing out. The first is that unlike Trump, who seems to make policy kind of on the fly, wherever he is, IVF, we're going to pay for it, we may not pay for it, whatever, she's actually starting to come out with very detailed plans on housing, on taxes, on small business, and so forth. And so she's running a campaign with policy, unlike the former president, except for these off-the-cuff kinds of things. And secondly, her proposal would increase taxes on the wealthy, unlike Trump's, which would decrease taxes on the wealthy, try to get people to pay their fair share, and try to take a stab at addressing our deficit. Trump has no plan for that. And what you saw yesterday for Harris is the beginning of a plan for that. Generally speaking, what I think most people don't understand is that if you look at sort of the who gets and who gives among the states, you're going to find that the blue states give a lot more to Washington than they get from Washington, which is ironic given that you have a Republican president who in effect wants to reduce what the disadvantage that the red states have and increase it for the blue states. But let's take a look at this chart. So if you look at the net of what people pay versus what they get, you see at the far end of the spectrum are all blue states. they pay more to Washington than they get from Washington. And if you look over here on the right, you'll see these are almost all red states, with the exception of Virginia and Maryland, which are kind of special cases because they have so much federal installations and military and so forth in their states. And so this is what you see happening. Most of this happens on the revenue side. Residents of blue states earn a lot more than residents of red states, so they pay a lot more in taxes, roughly $3,000 a year per capita.
So, see, that's fascinating. So what you're saying is there's income redistribution here.
Well, exactly.
The income redistribution is coming from blue states, and it is benefiting the very people that go around yammering about socialism all the time when they are the beneficiaries of income redistribution from blue states to red states. So if anybody is benefiting from a, quote, socialist redistribution scheme, how fascinating. It's mainly red states.
Joe, you said it better than I said. In our system, where we try to make people more equal, yes, government has tilted in favor of the red states, the same government that Trump would like to reduce or dismantle.
Overwhelmingly, it's the red states that are the greatest beneficiary of education funding.
Exactly. So let's talk about two pieces of education funding. First, let's talk about Head Start. Head Start primarily benefits children in rural communities, lower income communities, and so forth. So it's not surprising that the top funded state under Head Start is Mississippi, which gets $56.84 per resident back. And you can see then it's West Virginia, it's Louisiana, it's Kentucky, it's Wyoming. Red state average, $22.42. Top blue state, Michigan, $25.77. is actually below the fifth red state, Wyoming, and the average is down here at 1722. But what's important to know about this is a program that Project 2025 would kill. So the Republicans that are in effect proposing a policy that would actually hurt their constituents a good bit more than it would hurt the constituents of blue states. Another similar example of that is teachers. A lot of teachers' jobs in lower income areas are funded by what's called Title I. You can see here the largest percentage of teachers supported by Title I is Louisiana at 12%. But you've got Mississippi, you've got Alabama, you've got Florida, you've got New Mexico, Arizona, Nevada, swing states and red states principally benefiting. Once again, the Republicans would eliminate this funding, send it back to the states, say you deal with this problem, disproportionately hurting their own constituents.
Steve, let's look at your final chart, which focuses on the Inflation Reduction Act, which we've heard Donald Trump and others rail against. How is it boosting investment?
So this is a program obviously mostly proposed by the Democrats. And it is, again, ironically, a program that has helped so far the red states more than the blue states. First, let's look at the IRA in general. The Inflation Reduction Act has sent, as you would expect, as we hoped, clean investment soaring. It's actually way above anything we thought was going to happen. Huge outpouring of investment in everything from wind farms to solar panels to home insulation to all the kinds of things that we hope will save energy. But look where the investment has come. And this is through a tax credit system. This is not bureaucrats sending the money there. This is kind of where the action is. And you can see in the red states, the amount of investment in this from the 2 years before IRA to the 2 years post-IRA has gone up 84%, 57 billion to 105. It's actually gone down in blue states. I'm not quite sure why, but it has. And so the vast beneficiaries of the IRA, which the Republicans have also tried to kill, are the red states.
So, and we should understand what I just said there. I decided to cut the other piece that I had. You can see the video in the newsletter, but this is important. By the way, British MCP has a very important meme. It says Trump had full control for 2 full years. Hey, Melissa Bowie, our beautiful Melissa Bowie. How are you doing, Melissa?
I am well, Egberto. How are you today?
I am doing fine. Melissa, hold one quick second. Don't move. I want to do this meme first, real quick. Trump had full control of 2 full years from 2017 to 2019. The presidency, the Supreme Court, the House, the Senate, the Department of Justice. Immigration bills passed, 0. Borders closed, 0. Wall money, 0, meaning the wall that's Mexico going to build, 0. Illegal immigration soared up to a new record in 2019. Tax cut for billionaires, 1. That's the only thing that got passed. People may say, well, the filibuster would have stopped the immigration bill. Well, when the Republicans really wanted a Supreme Court justice, what did they do again? They got rid of the filibuster. So therefore, no excuses. Trump was a failure all the way around, including the way he handled COVID. My sister, Melissa Dewey, talk to me.
On top of all of that, hello, Houston, how you doing? I wanted to ask you, is the white flight happening to Trump?
Yeah. Let me tell you.
The white flight is happening to
yes.
good old DJ Trump. What in the world?
Let me tell
you. Did,
huh? Melissa, they said they can't hear you very well. Can you hear? What is it? Is it you can't hear her, or is it pretty soft? Because it's a little bit. She's a little bit lower. Can you get a little closer to? Yeah.
Hold on.
Right.
Can you hear me now?
Okay, go ahead, Melissa. Yes, I can hear you.
I said, hello, Houston. So I wanted to ask you, on top of all of that, what the video just displayed about the under Trump's policies, I wanted to ask you, did the white flight just happen to Trump?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it is happening. I'm going to try to increase her volume. I'm going to try my best to increase her volume. I don't know how to do it, to be honest with you guys.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's happening. I guess that's what happened when I got on the when I was on the Zoom call.
I am not sure if it's your fault or not. I am not sure. It could be me. But just kind of speak loudly for me, my sister.
I just wanted to know, did the white flight happen? What do you think? What do you think is happening to Trump?
What's going to happen? It hasn't yet happened yet, right? But all the white women are starting to vacate Trump altogether, and white women are the key to this election. Okay, and yes, and what is going to happen is white women are going to abandon Donald Trump with a passion. The only problem that we're going to have is with white conservative men. White conservative men, for some reason, I don't get it.
Well, yeah, Cheney she just jumped ship, and I think that was the sign. You know how that when one do it, that's they signaling.
Right.
Oh, my man, DJ Trump got the white flight happening. Is it because we went over to the other side?
Yeah, well, there are a lot of reasons. There are a lot of reasons why also, right? I mean, again, you start to mess with the woman's you-know-what. Melissa, I don't need to say it, but you know what.
Yeah.
Then that is what's going to happen. But Melissa, great hearing from you. Anything else you want to say before I jump to the other one?
That was it. That was it. I just wanted to get Eric going.
Okay. All right, you take care, my sister. You have a great one. But anyway, I want to address something else that's out there because, number one, let's be clear here. There's no magic happening with numbers here. A tariff is a tax. The people who pay the tariff is you and me. Because if we have most of our imports come in from China and we're still buying those things because those thugs, the corporate thugs have sent all our manufacturing overseas and we're not manufacturing it here, then that is inflation. Donald Trump was partially responsible for the inflation before he left because of the tariffs he put on that came into existence. It's the statement of fact. Bruce says, quick, hi from Milwaukee, where every vote counts. Bruce, are you doing in Milwaukee? Great to have you out there, my brother. Great to hear. Great to see you. You should call in sometime. Let's continue some other thing because these guys, there are certain items in the chat that isn't just mere, what should I say, lack of information. It is a lack of intelligence. It's actually just where these guys get their message from. So let me just tell you that immigration is not a problem of the Biden administration. A problem of the Trump administration is a problem of American policy, period. But again, you have to be able to think critical thinking, which is something anathema to the Republican Party, to get that. And I'm not talking about my Republican friends. I'm talking about those who are informing my Republican friends. All right. Let's see what else we got here. as I mentioned before, I have another video, but I don't have the time to play it. So I have to go ahead and I'll simply be answering these things in the chat. Let me see here. There's one that I wanted to tackle. Harris proposed the largest middle class tax increase. That's a verifiable lie. That was again, and another verifiable lie is that Trump's tax expiration will adversely affect the working class. It will not. Another thing that we need to cover is Eric Hayes. Go take a look at your 401k in 2020, and go take a look at it now. Look at the comparison of your 401k. I know you're a money guy, so you should be able to see which party was better for you. Look at the first 3 years of Trump, and look at what your 401k looks like right now. I don't even have to ask. If you have it just in a regular fund, it has exploded again. And that is because Democrats are much better for the economy, for the capitalist economy, than is any Republican possibly. So it's very, very different, right? Very, very different. If you have a 401k and your 2020 looks like 2024, that's not on Biden or Trump. That's on you. You had to be foolish not to make money between 2020 and 2024. No person. You could just let your money ride in what you call that fund. You could just let your money ride in that fund, and you'll be way ahead. Okay, folks. Trump wants to control our economy. Why would we accept the guy who bankrupted himself 6 times and that Truth Social is going to go bankrupt as well? And that's going to control our economy? Come on, man. Let's get real. All right, folks, let's see where we're at. We only have 4 minutes left, and my video is 6 minutes. So I can't go to that last video. So I guess I'll use the last 4 minutes to go ahead and pitch for you supporting the program. So here's what I want to ask all of you right now. Those of you who have the wherewithal. Let's see. Everett said, yes, Egberto was celebrating his anniversary. Yes, I was. 37 years, man. Damn, I feel like I'm getting old, But you know what? It's all about how young you are up here and how much exercise you do. And that's what I do. I make sure and exercise every day, even as I get a little bit of sleep. I do exercise every day. Well, 5 days a week. But anyhow. Let's see what else we got. Folks, I'd like to ask you kindly, if you have the wherewithal to support Politics Done Right. And there are many ways in which you can support Politics Done Right. Okay? The way to do it is to go to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter and become a paid subscriber to our newsletter. Becoming a paid subscriber to our newsletter gives you options to become what again? Let me go ahead and get to that screen if I can. Oh, come on, Egberto. You can get there before the program ends and put it onto the screen. This is what the website for my newsletter looks like. But everybody who becomes a paid subscriber of the newsletter gets to read all of my books free of charge on Substack. And how does that look? You click on books, and guess what? My book, as I see it, Class Warfare, the Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom, you get to read it online. And here are all the chapters of the book that you can go ahead and read online. You can read my other book called How to Make America Utopia. And you can read it online. Right here is the list of all the books again that we have for how to. Then you can also go to see my other book. It's Worth It. How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relative Friends and Neighbors. And of course, there is Tribulations of an Afro-Latino Caribbean Man. Tells my story, which is a story that I think is, you'd learn a whole lot from the kinds of things that we go through as both immigrants, as minority, Latino, West Indian, Caribbean, all that sort of thing. I guarantee you it's a good read. So anybody who subscribe to my newsletter, Bridge MCP, hoping to get my skin thicker, but not shutting up. Don't ever shut up. Thank you so kindly for your super chat, Bridge MCP. I appreciate that. Anybody else want to give a super chat? Just go out there and click on that super chat button on YouTube. But folks, likewise, but I would love some of you to become subscribers of our newsletter. We need to get to over 1,000 to be self-sustaining. I'm talking about paid subscribers. We're not there yet. Just go to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. And I'm going to put that in the chat right now. Apparently, I forgot to put it in. politicsdoneright.com/newsletter to become a subscriber of a paid subscriber of our newsletter. Of course, there are many other ways to support us that you can find at politicsdoneright.com/support, politicsdoneright.com/support. But again, we'd love to get more subscribers to the newsletter, politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. Got to get out of here. But before I go, I want to tell all my users, my listeners, my watchers, whether I agree with you or not, from the depths of my heart, love you all. We're in this together. I gave an interview to Debbie Lynn Molyneux earlier today where we discussed what would I like to see America look like in 20 years. And it's an America where we don't agree with each other, but we can all get along honestly. I try to do that within our own domain here, where we can have from the likes of Mike Cisak, Lee Grant, Mike Hayes, as well as Bridge MCP, Yvette Herod, all of us from different persuasions, identities, and can coexist in the same room without killing each other. Whenever we have our PDR posse here in Houston, where everybody fly in, I'm going to have, Lou wants to arrange something like that, where we have the PDR posse meetup, where we have a organized program. Haven't figured out costs and all of that yet. Where we can get together and show that we can exist together and fight each other. Not like this, but you know what I'm talking about. And change minds. That's what it's all about. Got to get out of here. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you guys know how I end this baby, right? I am what? Out.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number 1, subscribe to our channel. And number 2, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.